Welcome back to another episode of Grizzly True Crime. My name is Gisela K, and today we continue on with part 3 of analyzing the press conferences in the Delphi case. So, let's get started. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you are new here, then hello and welcome to the Grizzly community. And if you have been here for a while, even if it's just for a day or however long it's been, welcome back. It's always nice to see you. So before I get started, let me put my disclaimer up as always. I've got to move things around a little bit to read that. So the disclaimer is all Grizzly True Crime content is for adults only and may contain themes that some individuals find triggering, offensive, or disturbing. The intent is not to disrespect viewers or any individuals spoken about herein. Viewer discretion is advised. So, today I'm continuing on. As we know, we've been analyzing the press conferences in the Delphi case. If you haven't watched the previous episodes yet, relating to this, I would honestly check out my playlist and go through it chronologically because it will make more sense. We're sort of building on it layer by layer, analyzing it from the very beginning with a fresh pair of eyes. So this press conference happened on February 13th, 2018. I should have put this one. Sorry, this is a premiere recorded earlier. So this press conference happened February 13th, 2018. So this is the next one sequentially that we're looking at. After this, we've still got, I think, 2 or 3 more things to look at in separate videos. I'm doing a whole series on this, analyzing everything from the start. And I just found it interesting that they chose, it's not that abnormal. And yet, if there are any red flags, it would be a little bit abnormal to have the press conference out in the woods, very close to where Abby and Libby were found murdered. So, and Doug Clark does give the reason at the end for why this conference was held here. But anyway, it's held here. Let's have a look at it. So many of you have emailed me about this guy. He's still wearing a blue shirt here too. A lot of you have emailed me about this guy. I'm just saying, look at all of them. And I'm not American. I'm South African, living in the Netherlands, looking at this case literally from the outside with a fresh pair of eyes. So if you want to dig, because you guys have way more resources in the States where you can look up people's social security number, background checks and things like that. I've actually tried. And even when I pay for those services, it immediately picks up, you're not American, and kicks me out. So I literally can't do it. Yeah, so when am I moving to America? I might as well move to Florida. I'm always on Florida time, aren't I? Anyway, so let's carry on.
Everybody ready? Good afternoon. I want to thank you all for coming today. Today we're going to talk about the Abby Libby case. Some of the people standing behind me is Superintendent Doug Carter with the Indiana State Police. You got Detective Deputy Sheriff Kevin Hammond over here. Excuse me, over there. You got Sheriff Tobe Lesby with the Carroll County Sheriff's Department. On this side, FBI Special Agent Mike Peasley, and then First Sergeant Jerry Holman. They're going to discuss today the things that have been going on over the last year with this case. Superintendent Carter will do most of the talking, and at this time I'll turn over the podium to him. Thank you.
A dramatic entrance already. I know you guys have pointed out it is very dramatic. Like kind of, what do you call it? He's expressing a lot of emotion, but it's sometimes it's almost like too much, you know what I mean? And it doesn't mean you can't express emotion. Oh man, I gotta be careful with my words. You know, people could take that clip and be like, wait, what? I mean, it's almost overacted sometimes. That's what you guys are picking up. That's what you guys are emailing me about, and I see it. I see it.
Well, first of all, welcome. I didn't really know what to expect when I stood on this trail just a little bit ago, over the course of the last 15 minutes, but very uncomfortable feeling. We're a year in. A year today.
I just don't know what to say. I'm just like, okay. It's just like that smirk and that laugh he just had it's a bit odd.
I didn't really know what to expect when I stood on this trail just a little bit ago, over the course of the last 15 minutes, but
What were you going to say? Oh, my word.
Very uncomfortable feeling. We're a year in, a year today. I would be remiss to not talk about the people that have made this whole for the first year without an arrest. We talked about Sheriff Linsonby, who stands behind me to the left, and Kevin Hammond, Mike Peasley with the FBI, Jerry Holman over my right shoulder, Steve Buckley, the new prosecutor Nick McClelland here in Carroll County. What I've seen over this course of the last years are memories and times and comments and things that will stand with me and live with me for the rest of my life. The very best of humanity in the very worst of times. I was able to see from afar this community in Carroll County in the city of Delphi come together and support not only law enforcement and the people that were here that have given so much of their lives to this case, but also to the families. And I just wanted to say I am forever humbled. I don't know what you expected today, but I came to plead and implore you to keep this out front and center. I said...
Okay. Again, I'm not trying to be snarky. Just sometimes, I know you guys also have had red flags with Superintendent Doug Clark. Sometimes I feel like if I put speculation spectacles on, and if I were to speculate that if by even 1%, if there was 1% chance of him being involved in any way, I mean, then all the things he says, like, I want you to keep this front and center. I know that logically that would be to solve the case, to keep it front and center, to keep the pressure on. I get that. But because I've written books about serial killers and studied them for many years, I feel like that's something they also say. That's what I'm going to say. So even, let's put it this way. I'm not even implicating anyone. I'm saying even a serial killer would say those things of like, yeah, let's keep this front and center. And I can't believe the amount of attention that is here. I can't believe the turnout. And you'll see, he'll say more now. But I'm just like, okay, you know. It's interesting how Lazenby always stares at him from behind like that. He's not looking forward into the crowd or at the cameras. He's just staring at him.
Said before, and I'm confident I'll say again, I hope that one day when we all meet Abby and Libby that they tell us you did well. That's my hope. We cannot allow evil to prevail. Our world is completely out of balance, and we cannot allow that to prevail. I've said all along that we, as an agency, will be here as long as I'm breathing and as long as Governor Holcomb allows me to continue to stay in the position that I hold. I have the opportunity to brief him
Allows me to hold the position. Okay.
Regularly. This isn't about how many hours we spend. It's not about how much it costs. It's about every single asset that the ISP has. We will give to this sheriff, this community, and to each and every one of you. Because I refuse to accept evil as a standard bearer in American society. Not here.
If you see me smiling, it's because Fury is just roaming around the room looking for attention.
Here. People have oftentimes asked me, why is this so personal to you? It's personal to me because those two young girls were everybody's daughter.
Should I be snarky? I don't know. My snark is a little bit subdued tonight, but it's there. I could bring it out if you want. I'm just saying it's obviously... We'll pick it up with these true crime cases where when people say those girls and stuff like that, it's distancing language. And to say, you know, they represent somebody's daughter or everybody's daughter. You know? It's kind of like when I've seen comedy movies and guys pretend to not like strip clubs and they say, that's somebody's daughter. But then, meanwhile, they really enjoy being there. You know what I mean? It's just, I get what he's saying. And I'm not trying to be harsh. I'm just analyzing everything. Just because I think we should.
In this beautiful place that represents the very best of humanity. And look what happened. That's why it's very personal to me.
In this beautiful place that represents the very best of humanity, and he's pointing at the woods around him. But in previous press conferences, they said that Delphi, they know that it's someone who committed the murders, who's from this area, who knows the area, because Monon High Bridge isn't exactly a tourist destination. It would be Delphi community that knows about it, you know. So to say this beautiful place that represents the best of humanity, is it though? You know what I mean? It's a big statement.
And I just hope that one day I can look into the eyes of a murderer and ask him why. And I believe that...
I just want to hear that again.
That's why it's very personal to me. And I just hope that one day I can look into the eyes of a murderer and ask him why.
He didn't say the murderer, he said a murderer. I hope that one day I could look into the eyes of a murderer and ask him why. Let's look at it one more time.
Of humanity. And look what happened. That's why it's very personal to me. And I just hope that one day I can look into the eyes of a murderer and ask him why.
Red flag alert. I need a red flag. If someone wants to send me one, please send me one. I know I can make one. I got to think about how to do that, but I need a red flag. A big one. I see a big red flag, yeah. And one day I hope to look into the eyes of a murderer. He didn't say the murderer. He said a murderer. And ask him why.
And I believe that we will. I believe that we will. I know you have a bunch of questions for me. But please understand, if the question has to do with the investigative process, tactics associated with the investigation, what only the killer would know, that we know, I can't answer your question. And I just ask you to ask for you to please understand that when we open this up. Many people have said, did you think it'd be a year? I don't know. I don't know. How do you answer that question? I believe we're...
The answer is no. No. Even the prosecutor, we'll see some of his talks in the next episode, some of his interviews and things. Even he said that initially they thought they would solve this in 48 hours because they had the audio, they had the video, they had the crime scene. But then it's become so complex. But to say, how do I answer that? You say no, especially to the crowd and to the media. Did we think this would be a year later that we'd still unsolved? No. So we're working hard to continue to solve it. You can't say, I don't know how to answer that.
We're one piece of the puzzle away from figuring out.
One piece. He always does that. He's got very political body language, huh? One piece. The best of humanity in the worst of times. It's like a presidential speech type of thing. You know, my goodness.
Who this individual is. Then the real work begins. Over 30,000.
And then the real work begins? So first, you're going to work for 5+ years to figure out who this individual is. Sounds to me like you address him directly, though, especially at the previous press conference. So it's like you know. But we're going to find out who this individual is. And then our work begins?
1,000 tips. Thank heavens the FBI was engaged with us, with the Orion system and the expertise that the FBI brought from all over the country to allow us to manage that kind of data. We've had inquiries and requests for discussion from agencies all over the country, not only because this is such a high-profile case, but because of the complexities associated with the time since we found their bodies a year ago.
Oof, that was a big red flag to me too. A year ago. He wants to say a year ago today. Giant red flag for me. And he stutters and stutters and stutters, and then he says tomorrow. Why is that a red flag to me? If there's a 1% chance that he either knows who the killer is or is the killer, if I had to say something wild. I'm not saying he is. Entertainment purposes only, speculatively. If. I'm going to say it like this. A killer, even if he's present there or whatever, would memorialize, commemorate, whatever the word is, think of a year ago from today. A year ago today, in that exact location. But then he keeps on saying a year ago tomorrow. Let's see it again.
We've had inquiries and requests for discussion from agencies all over the country, not only because this is such a high-profile case, but because of the complexities associated with the time since we found their bodies a year ago tomorrow. As I close my comments to you, I want to say thank you.
A year ago tomorrow. Now, when did you find them? They were found, apparently, just after noon on February 14th. But this was a press conference held at the 1 year... it's difficult to say anniversary or death anniversary. It feels very disrespectful to the victims. They're holding the press conference 1 year since Abby and Libby were murdered. And they're holding the press conference in the place. At the place where they were murdered. That's a little bit weird to me. To me, it's got serial killer vibes or trophy vibes for whatever reason. Speculatively.
I've had the pleasure of having relationships with our local media and our statewide media and even our national media for more than 30 years. I appreciate our partnership. I've had the opportunity to travel to the East Coast and the West Coast with Mike and Becky and the families to continue to perpetuate this message if somebody out there knows who this individual is. None of that's possible without you.
Think about that statement. None of that is possible without you. They rely on the public or one particular family to come forward and say, that's my dad, that's my uncle, or that's my brother. He gave those examples before. So yes, they're appealing to the public, but really, I believe that they have someone in mind and they're appealing to their family. Or they know, yeah, whoever did this, their own family will have to turn them in, type of thing.
It's really, really important that you understand how important and what the importance of the role is that you play.
Not a role that you have, a role that you play. I know that's how people talk, but it's a bit odd to say it's really important that you understand the role that you play. Anyone got a red flag for me?
Technology is wonderful, but technology can also challenge us. I would ask that folks not continue to compare photographs on the internet.
Then why release composite sketches? What's the point of that? Why are you releasing 2 composite sketches to tell people to not compare them to anyone else on the internet? Very interesting, right? That just makes me mad. You know, it makes me so mad that I'm gonna do it right now. I'm gonna put them here right now. Nope, that's my disclaimer. Hold on. Yes, we want to see that one. Why is this not showing? There we go. I'm just putting the pictures there Because they say we mustn't compare these pictures to anyone on the internet. And why? Why do you release them then? What's the point? What is the point of them then? Tell me. What's the point? To confuse the public, maybe?
Please, if you have an idea of an individual, of a comment, of a phrase, of a name, that you send it to us. It creates lots of complications when that analysis is done outside of the purview of the experts that I happen to be able to represent that are standing behind me today. So I hope you hear me loud and clear. If you're watching this and you're responsible, today may be your day. It might be tomorrow, but I can guarantee you your day's coming.
How do you know the day's coming when they have nothing except the public? Because they play such an important role, right? One piece of the puzzle, the public. But even though the public and the media are so important, they ask the media and the public to not ask questions, to not compare photos on the internet, and to send everything to them. But then also take 4 years to release dribs and drabs of information, which could have been released the day after. Because it's not all that epic. It's like, here's a sketch, ooh, disregard, here's another sketch. Here's a still image, ooh, it's actually from a video, but we're only going to release like 3 seconds.
We've got to perpetuate the relationship that we have, and we've got to not stop. Ladies and gentlemen, I've seen detectives that have given their lives to this case, that have held off and discussed holding off retirement, that have camel.
Aw, isn't that what they're supposed to do? I don't mean hold off retirement, but yeah, to just kick back for retirement when there's such a devastating case in such a small community. I'm sorry, you don't get a medal for that. That's what you signed up for, especially as active law enforcement. So this whole thing of saying, oh my word, we're just working so hard, we're working the case, I can't believe how hard we're working. There's even people who've held off retirement. Well, one would hope so, because it's not solved. And this was 1 year after the murders. 1 year. Now we're almost at 5 years later.
Canceled family vacations, that work nights, weekends, and holidays, so that we can explain.
It's kind of what's expected. It comes with the job. It's the nature of the job, you know what I mean? Like Buckeye Police Department in the Daniel Robinson case. Missing person Daniel Robinson since June 23rd. But Buckeye Police is off on Saturdays and Sundays. Allegedly, they're also off on Fridays sometimes, so that's not how it works. It's not how it should work, at least, right? I don't know. Is that a thing? Is it different states that do that, or... I don't think the crime stops, you know what I mean? There should be... Police department shouldn't close on the weekend. And there shouldn't be talk about vacations here, in the woods, 1 year later, unsolved still. And I can have a lot of empathy. You guys know that. I don't have empathy when they're like, oh no, they're holding off retirement and not even taking their vacations. Well, one would hope so. Because Abby and Libby will never have a vacation again. They'll never have a holiday. They'll never, we call it holiday or vacation. They will not get to retire. So yes, please work very hard and continue to work very hard to solve the case.
Explain to you one day and to this incredible community, to our state, what happened. So our commitment is long-standing. It's real. It's as real today as it was 365 days ago, and it'll be as real tomorrow as it was today. We are not.
Again, he says 365 days ago, but they only found out they were murdered on the 14th, so in his brain, he's definitely stored this February the 13th. It is the day they were murdered, but they found their bodies on the 14th.
Not going away. We are not going away. With all that said, the floor is yours.
That was very passive-aggressive. Without that said, the floor is yours.
Tomorrow as it was today. We are not going away. We are not going away. With all that said, the floor is yours.
Superintendent, how do you speak to that one individual who said maybe just a tip away? So how do you encourage that somebody, whoever they may be,
Yeah.
provide you with that information that you need to put the pieces together to solve this?
That's a great question. And the answer is each of you. I talked about that relationship. You see, in all of my career, I don't ever remember having the photograph of a person that we believe is responsible. I don't ever remember having the voice of a person that we think is responsible, or having a sketch of the individual that we believe is responsible. So,
Okay, but then a year later you released a different sketch, so.
if all of you closed your eyes for just a moment and you thought of a family member, but you didn't think of them from the neck up.
Important. Are you listening? Don't think of them from the neck up. So basically, these drawings, let's point the right way, these drawings are irrelevant, he's saying, because if you thought of your family member, think of them without considering them from the neck up. So basically, this whole case, the video and everything is just about the neck down.
You would know how they stand and the clothes they wore and their posture. You would know that voice. I would know it if it was my father, just like you would know it if it was yours.
Whose father is it then?
Somebody out there knows who this person is. And fortunately, I'm not going to say unfortunately, fortunately, we have such a relationship with you that you've kept this front and center, because we couldn't do it. We
Why would he say unfortunately? That was an interesting statement there.
I would know it if it was my father, just like you would know it if it was yours. Somebody out there knows who this person is. And fortunately, I'm not going to say unfortunately, fortunately, we have such a relationship with you that you've kept this front and center, because we couldn't do it.
That was another red flag statement. Fortunately, I'm not going to say unfortunately. We have this relationship with you. He means the media. So let's just imagine if he did say unfortunately. Unfortunately, we have this relationship with you, the media, that keeps it front and center. Meaning it's never going to go away. He knows that. It's never going away. The spotlight remains on. So then fortunately, not unfortunately, fortunately, okay.
We couldn't do it. But you guys are. I don't think there's multiple pieces to the puzzle, ladies and gentlemen. I think there's one piece. And it's having one individual with the strength to say, that was my brother, or that's my dad, or that's my cousin, or that's my neighbor, it's my coworker. That's all we need. And I think
That's all we need. They don't need DNA evidence, according to what he's saying. Well, that would relate, it would result in DNA evidence if someone came forward to say that. They need a confession from a family member. But how would they do that? There's so many people that could look like Bridge Guy, as we've seen. So to say, that's my dad, or my brother, or my uncle, or my cousin. Well, in Delphi, there must be, out of a community of 3,000 people, there could probably be at least 100 that could come forward and say, oh, that's my dad, or uncle, or cousin, or coworker, or neighbor. But why is that the one piece of the puzzle that they need? My theory is because evidence has been tampered with. That's a theory.
we're one piece away. One piece. Good question, Raphael. I appreciate that.
How do you measure progress, and how much progress has been made in the last year?
Yeah, so another good one. How do you measure progress? How do we keep? How do we know if we're making progress? Tips. I think if we do this mathematically, it's over 30,000 tips.
I've never heard of homicide detectives measure progress by how many tips they receive. So if you got 20 million tips, are you doing really well? Versus 20 tips?
I've heard this guy say to me multiple times, Superintendent, when we're out of tips, we're going to start all over with the ones we got.
I'm going to say, well, duh.
There's this notion that this is cold. It's not cold. This is not going to be cold. I'm not sure where that comes from.
You don't want it to be cold? He doesn't want it to be cold, but you know what I'm saying. If someone were to speculatively enjoy the media attention, if they were, even though he said the fortunately, unfortunately, fortunately thing, if someone, let's say anyone, speculatively were to enjoy the media attention, focusing on a gruesome case that may never get solved. Do you know what I'm saying there? Look, one more time, then I'll say it again.
I've heard this guy say to me multiple times, Superintendent, when we're out of tips, we're going to start all over with the ones we got. There's this notion that this is cold. It's not cold. It is not going, this is...
Okay, so that's what I was saying to finish my sentence. It's not going cold. Why would people say it's going cold? It will never go cold. But yet you rely on the public for tips, and your progress is measured in tips. So if the tips stop rolling in, wouldn't that go cold then, based on how you're assessing your own progress? Anyway.
Not going to be cold. I'm not sure where that comes from. So as those tips continue to come in, we'll continue to work them the very, very best that we can. We'll bring detectives in from all the posts around Indiana that I'm responsible for. And the local law enforcement entities that have resources, we'll bring them all together and we'll go out after the tips that we have. That generally leads to...
You're talking about we will go after. You should be going after it now. We will bring them in and then we'll do this and then we'll go after all the tips. You're doing it now though, right? Because it's a year later. And that's at the time. Now it's 5 years later.
More tips. And then can lead to more tips. So we will continue to manage those tips, and when we're all done, we're going to start all over.
And how do you know we're all done? And when we're all done, we'll start all over. This case is now and it's got international attention. So why would it, and when it's all over, we'll start again. When will it all be over? At what point do you assess, okay, the tips have stopped rolling in, let's start all over?
Because that piece of the puzzle's in the pile someplace. Yes, sir.
Daniel Nations has been called a person of interest. What does that mean for the Indiana State Police when you say someone's a person of interest?
Well, I think the inverse to that statement is until there's somebody arrested, we're interested in almost everybody. But we, as you all know, we went out to Colorado and we spent a little bit of time with him. And he's not a person that we care a whole lot about at this moment in time. And that's what...
I know what he means when he says it means we're not interested in him as a suspect. But to say he's not a person we care a whole lot about at this time, he's not a person of interest at this time, would be more appropriate.
All I'll say about Daniel Nations.
Now that a year has gone by, do you guys have a new path when investigating this case, or is it still relying on those tips? Is it, what you've been doing every day for the last year?
Yeah. I think that repetitive nature is going to reveal something that's right before us, and we just don't know what it is yet.
That repetitive nature is going to reveal something that's right before us. We just don't know what it is yet. Very strange. Okay, let's have a quick commercial break, shall we? Just a quick one. If you like my content and would like to say thank you, the easiest way to do that is, of course, to buy a copy of any one of my books, or to buy me a coffee on buymeacoffee.com/Gisela K, which I'll link below for you. Thank you so much for listening. I also just want to interject in this commercial break that I am fundraising for David Robinson, who's looking for his son Daniel Robinson, as well as for the Gabby Petito Foundation. And you can either go and make a donation directly to either the Gabby Petito Foundation or to David Robinson on his GoFundMe, pleasehelpfinddaniel.com. However, I know that some of you want to be part of the Grizzlies that are making a transfer. So I'm going to make a Grizzly transfer. If you want to be part of that, send me a PayPal, because that's in the link is in my description box. Okay. And what I will do is collect it all. I'm already collecting all from the merch. So all the proceeds from both merch ranges are going to David Robinson and to Gabby Petito's Foundation, right? From depending on which merch range you buy. And I'm also going to be adding all my super chats and super stickers until Christmas Day to David Robinson's GoFundMe. But if you want to add to what I'm making a whole pot, right? So it's from the merch, super chats and super stickers. And if you also want to contribute via PayPal, if you PayPal me and say for David Robinson or for the Gabby Petito Foundation, I will add that to the pot that I'm making the transfer on December 25th. Okay? I just want to put that out there.
Superintendent, you have been on the national TV programs. You have harnessed the resources of not only your agency, but also the region of the FBI and Carroll County. not done, sir? I mean, as you look at your checklist, what have you not done humanly possible already to look into this case? What is that? Is there something you haven't done?
You know, you're going to get into my soul a little bit with a question like that.
Well, very dramatic. What have you done? What have you not done yet? The guy is just asking, is there maybe something you've missed? What have you not done yet? Is there something else maybe that you could consider doing? And his answer is very hectic.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you why. I want to tell you why. Because of what my eyes have seen and what the eyes of these fellows behind me have seen that you haven't seen. About 3/4 of a mile from here. There is not a day goes by at the end of my day that I don't think, is tonight the night that I'm going to get a call that something bad happens to somebody that I represent, an Indiana trooper someplace in Indiana.
That is the most interesting statement I've heard so far in this conference. Not a day goes by when I don't go to bed and think about something bad happening to someone that I represent or an Indiana state trooper. See, he's worried about people, something bad happening to people in law enforcement. Did you hear that?
You know, reveal something that's right before us, and we just don't know what it is yet.
Superintendent, you have been on the national TV programs. You have harnessed the resources of not only your agency, but also the FBI and Carroll County. Is there something that you have not done, sir? I mean, as you look at your checklist, what have you not done humanly possible already to look into this case? What is that? Is there something you haven't done?
You know, you're going to get into my soul a little bit with a question like
And then he goes, yeah, I feel the rage.
that. Yeah, and I'm going to tell you why. I want to tell you why. Because of what my eyes have...
Look at the buddy smirking in the background. Sorry, the sheriff. Carroll County Sheriff. I say Tobe, but Tobe Lisenby. I gotta go back a second and see it again.
You're going to get into my soul a little bit with a question like that. Yeah, and I'm going to tell you why.
Why is he laughing in the background?
I want to tell you why. Because of what my eyes have seen and what the eyes of these fellows behind me have seen that you haven't seen.
We're very aware. We haven't seen it. We don't want to see it, but we also don't know any information about it. So to kind of be like, we've seen it and you haven't. Yeah, you don't let anyone in. So of course not. That's like rubbing it in people's face that they know nothing. They don't know. You don't know what we know. We know that we don't know what you know. So tell us what you know so that maybe the public can help you.
About 3/4 of a mile from here. There is not
3/4 of a mile from here. He says it again. Remember in the first press conference in 2017, the day that the bodies were found, they said 3/4 of a mile from here. So yeah, for people critiquing my map time, it's my speculation where I pinned where their bodies could have been, instead of everything that's being shared over and over again of where it was, just based on them continuously saying 3/4 of a mile from here.
Not a day goes by at the end of my day that I don't think, is tonight the night that I'm going to get a call that something bad happens to somebody that I represent, an Indiana.
You must listen to that very carefully and let it stay in your mind, because this is very important what he's saying. Okay? Don't get annoyed. I gotta go back. You gotta listen to this and think about what he's saying.
Day goes by at the end of my day that I don't think, is tonight the night that I'm going to get a call that something bad happens to somebody that I represent, an Indiana trooper someplace in Indiana.
An Indiana trooper someplace in Indiana.
Or is there something that we haven't done that we could do? Is there a level of support that I have not given to this sheriff or to Jerry Holman and the multitude of resources that we have here in Carroll County? What are we missing? You see,
Weird things to string together in a sentence.
we're human beings just like you.
Oh, you do love to say that, except that you're police officers in uniform with a responsibility to solve a double homicide. So bringing yourself down to, we're humans just like you. Believe me, Jeffrey Dahmer said exactly the same. I'm a human being just like you. Eileen Werner said, I'm a human being. It's a normal thing to do what I did. So don't give us that. We're human beings just like you. Don't force empathy where it's not due. You're a police officer with a responsibility.
And this continues to play in our minds. Every single morning I wake up and I realize my phone might have rang, but everybody's okay. But is today the day in Delphi? Is today the day in Flora?
Interesting that you mentioned Delphi and Flora. No one's connected those cases from law enforcement side really before. Is today the day in Delphi or Flora? What about the other double homicide, huh? That also happened in Indiana.
It comes to my mind every single morning, and sometimes in the middle of the night. So I appreciate the question, Raphael. The answer is absolutely yes. I can speak for myself, and I can't even fathom what the folks standing behind me must think and the way in which it's affected their lives.
Like you mentioned, you have the killer's voice, you have his picture, you have a detailed sketch. That's more information.
I can speak for myself, and I can't even fathom what the folks standing.
I can speak for myself and I can't even unfathom. Okay, you mean I can't even fathom. But you said unfathom. You've got interesting words, dude.
Night. So I appreciate the question, Raphael. The answer is absolutely yes. I can speak for myself, and I can't even fathom what the folks standing behind me must think and the way in which it's affected their lives.
Like you mentioned, you have the killer's voice, you have his picture, you have a detailed sketch. That's
So,
more information.
look at Lesenby. Now he's looking at, oh my word, like he always looks at Doug Carter, but now he's looking at the person asking that question.
You mentioned you have the killer's voice, you have his picture, you have a detailed sketch. That's more information than a lot of the cases that you guys have passed and resolved. 1 year later, you have all that information. How much are you going to have to do it?
Answer the question for me. I wish I could answer it. I wish I could answer it. I've said,
If you wish you could answer it, do you know something?
locally, statewide, and even nationally, that sometimes our citizenry doesn't trust us. And I acknowledge that and recognize that we are not without sin.
We know. We've seen many examples of that. Again, not to bash cops. It's not about that. But this bunch, a lot of red flags.
I know that. And I would just like to think that the person that might know about this maybe doesn't trust us and doesn't want to tell us.
I'm in the Netherlands and I don't even trust that I could call them and tell them speculatively what I think. Oh, no.
But they don't think we can protect them. Oh, yeah, we can.
Oh, yeah, we can. Are you sure, though? I hope so. Then tell them how you're going to protect them. How?
Yeah, we can. And we've got to work to regain that community's trust, these community trust. And I think we're getting there. That's not $1 million question. That's $1 billion question. And I'd give my life to be able to answer it.
It's not even $1 million question. Now it's $1 billion question. Huh? And he would give his life to answer it.
Yeah, we can. And we've got to work to regain that community's trust, these community trust. And I
Okay, we've got to work to gain that community's trust. I mean, these communities' trust. You mean this community's trust? Very weird. Distancing language for sure. That community's trust, these communities' trust, this. The word is this, that's what you're looking for? We have to work really hard to gain this community's trust. But he said that. Interesting.
I think we're getting there. That's not $1 million question, that's $1 billion question. And I'd give my life to be able to answer it.
Have you been able to clear anybody in this case?
I think that the people that we have talked to at this point in time, we feel confident that there was no involvement.
Which at that point included Keegan Kline, might I add. And remember, Keegan Kline has it's now gone wild that he could be a suspect, and the people are assuming that because they said anyone who's been in contact with the Anthony Shots profile. And then there's two sides of the fence. People say, no, he's not considered a suspect. He's only being brought to attention. He's not associated with Abby and Libby, right? He's been brought to the surface because they're trying to solve CP-related charges and see how far and wide his involvement goes, right? And he did, the Anthony Shots profile did like one of Libby's pictures on Instagram. Libby had a private account, Anthony Shots had a private account, and then he liked one of the pictures. So they were definitely following each other, and he liked one of her pictures. There's a connection. But for those that say that Keegan Kline isn't at all associated with this Delphi case, meaning the murders of Abby and Libby, well, consider that the tip line, remember that presser that they released? The tips they asked to be sent to Abby and Libby, the email for Abby and Libby, and the tip line for Abby and Libby, which means they're associating it in some way. I just really hope they don't pin it on him. That's what I'm going to say speculatively. I hope that law enforcement doesn't pin it on Keegan Kline, because I'm not convinced that he is a murder suspect. CP, yes, for sure. He's got lots of charges for that. Even though it took 3 years to put him behind bars for all of that. The average offender offends 211 times before they even face law enforcement. Never mind charges, but before they're even on the offender list or get caught or whatever, 211 times. That's very scary to think about.
Why haven't you released more of the video to give an idea of his gait, how he walked? And I think the comment was that you weren't comfortable at that time. You weren't at that point of doing that. 1 year in, are we now considering doing this? More to work with?
No, we are not. We think that we've released enough now that if there's a possibility of identifying the killer based on that photograph, we'll be able to do that. And that's all I can say about the video.
If there's a possibility of identifying the killer by that photo, which might be a slim chance because maybe Bridge Guy isn't even a killer. That's one tiny thing to consider. But Libby did film him. But then in the previous press conference, they said, just remember that you don't see this side or this side, which implies that there could be more than one person somewhere in the woods. But he's saying, no, we're not releasing more, because if someone can identify this person by this picture, then that's enough. Okay.
Audio that we have. Yeah. As needed, absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. That's an investigative process that will continue to perpetuate itself over time.
The investigative process will continue to perpetuate over time.
Well, this suspect that you took a picture of, do you believe he was a transient? Is he in the state? Is he anywhere in this country?
$1 billion question, isn't it?
$1 billion question? Tobe likes that one. Yeah, it's $1 billion question. Why? I thought you knew that he's in the room. He could even be in this room. And you know that he lives or works in Delphi or is a regular visitor. But now they're asking, could he be out of state or out of the country? $1 billion question.
I don't know.
Would you say the case has slowed down? Obviously not cold by any means, with so many tips still coming in, but has it slowed down a little bit, maybe not as many leads, or?
As with any major case, it ebbs and flows, right? I mean, the rhythm, it ebbs and flows. And this one is certainly no different. When it does slow down, it gives these incredible servants standing behind me an opportunity to take a breath. Then about the time they get that breath, something else happens and they fire right back up into high gear. I have no indication to believe that that's going to stop or slow down.
Detective Mann, you wouldn't mind answering a simple question.
Yeah, put him on the stand.
You wouldn't mind saying. You made the mistake of
He doesn't want to take the stand. This guy's coming up.
How are you holding up? How busy are you? How are you handling this with your coach?
I know you guys have a lot of red flags about him. So just speculatively, I'm going to put the images up. Because you guys are emailing it to me left and right in any case. So I'm going to put them up so that you can see. Because you've asked me to do a comparison. So I'm just going to put those up. Even though they said we should consider the suspect from the neck down. So really the face doesn't matter.
Physically, I'm handling it fine. As Superintendent Carter says, I think about this every night I go to bed. I lay in bed thinking, what could we have done today? Who do we need to follow up on? It's a never ending with me. Weekends, I'm still working on it. There's weekends I've come into the command center and just do stuff on my own just to get stuff done by myself. So it's 24/7 almost for me.
Having your local relationships with so many people here, and you've been on this case since the beginning, has that helped you and helped Indiana State Police?
It's helped a lot. A lot of the state police that come in from other posts don't know the area, don't know people, so they'll come into me or even Detective Liggett, who's also helped. We help them out, get them to the right people, and follow up where we can.
Detective, people are trying to find something to do. They want to be part of the solution. So, what do you suggest that they do as we enter the second year? Besides giving you that call that you need, what can the public do to help you get this case on the right track so you can talk?
As far as local, the public's been fantastic. The support has been fantastic from Carroll County, from food to snacks to beverages. Just every time I go to a local store, they're, hey, we're thinking of you. We're proud.
Yes, because that's what's important. The food and snacks and beverages you're getting, right? The community's been so helpful. Not by coming forward with that one puzzle piece they need. That's not what they're saying. No, no, no. Not from all the tips, emails. No, from the food, snacks, beverages.
Of you. So the local support has just been great. But just stay vigilant. If you see something, let us know. I mean,
Is there a gut on whether the suspect could be local? And if so, is there a concern that this person could track you?
it could be local, could be distance. At this point, we don't know. Again, always be visual of your surroundings when you're out and about.
How has this case changed you as a person? You guys talk to people here, like Superintendent Carter talks, and Toad talks. Every single investigator, you can tell it's really taken a toll.
It has.
Guys. So, I mean, seeing the family, having to give them updates, which sometimes are non-updates at this point, how does that affect you? So you go home, you can't get it off your mind.
It affects me because I have children at home too. So I am more vigilant with my own children than what I ever was before this had happened.
That would be a natural response. But if you pair that with what Doug Cotter said, that he's so worried that he's going to get a call and something really bad has happened to one of his own, someone he represents, or an Indiana state trooper, it's like they're worried that someone's going to attack law enforcement or their family. Right? If Tobe Lesenby is actually Carroll County's leading the investigation, why is he not saying anything?
We had that very conversation.
The question is, and this is making him very happy, why did you choose to have the press conference here? Talk about the significance of having this press conference here. Please watch both their faces. Just because. Just so we can just look at it.
We had that very conversation. And having, was it going to be in town? Was it going to be at the city building? Was it going to be at the old office on the courthouse square? I was pretty adamant, in my opinion, was that it's where they would last were.
My opinion. We should have this press conference 1 year later, on the 1 year anniversary of when they were murdered. You know where we should have the press conference? Right where they were. That's pretty dark, don't you think?
And
not even at the places where they were buried to respect the victim. No, 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 no. We're going to have the press conference right where they were on February 13th, 2017. 1 year later, we're going to stand right there. My opinion, I think it's inappropriate. It's like a murder memorial. It's weird. And it makes him so happy.
they walked right here. They walked right where I'm standing. I thought that's why it was significant to have it here today.
Okay.
And the response was, "What if it's snowing?" And I said, "Who cares?" So.
What if it's snowing? Who cares? We're going to do it at all costs.
I think everybody would agree.
Tobe loves that idea. They're both smiling a lot.
Opinion was that it's where they would last building was going to be at the.
Here we go. It's just one more time because whoa. Happy. So shy. Why here? I mean, blush. What a question. It's because it's my opinion that this is the right place.
We had that very conversation.
Did you now?
And having, was it going to be in town? Was it going to be at the city building? Was it going to be at the old office on the courthouse square?
Why would it be at the old office at the courthouse square? But okay, different options. But no. Out of all those options, it's going to be right here.
I was pretty adamant, in my opinion.
Adamant? I was pretty adamant. My opinion
was that it's where they would last were. And they walked right here. They walked right where I'm standing. I thought that's...
Because you have the full video and audio, right?
I thought that's why it was significant to have it here today. And the response was, "What if it's snowing?"
Now, just watch how he's like, I think it's... people will understand. Or let's just see.
So who cares? So I think everybody would agree.
I think everybody would agree. I don't think so. I don't agree. That's so weird. I think everyone would agree. No. And it's not a happy occasion because that's where they last walked. That's terrible. It's horrendous.
So who cares? So I think everybody would agree.
Tobe loves it. Listen,
every single opportunity that we get to throw this out to the front, whether it be in a newspaper in small town southern Indiana, or whether it be on a national stage, Dr. Phil was 135 countries and I think 20 million people.
Any opportunity we get to throw this out to the front. On one hand, sure, law enforcement could be excited about that their tiny town is being put on the spotlight, on the stage at all times. My 1% speculation is that that's how serial killers talk to, or a killer, or mostly serial killers, because that's what someone who's proud of what they've done a little bit, would be like, the more media attention, the better. And I'm sorry for speculating that, but I have to, because I've got to keep my mind very open and my eyes very open. It's what I do.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. Again, it resonates with the relationship with all of you. Please understand the importance you play and how important it is that you're here. I didn't know what to expect when we flew in, but I looked down and I saw this line of cars, and I just...
He's absolutely glowing from how much media attention there is on this.
Important it is that you're here. I didn't know what to expect when we flew in, but I looked down and I saw this line of cars, and I'm so grateful, so very grateful to you.
But just don't compare pictures on the internet, and don't really contact us about what you think. Just 5 years later, almost 5 years later, only then do they release the social media profile of Anthony Shots, which so happens to be tied to Keegan Klein because he admitted that he created the profile. 5 years? 4.5 years. Just over 4.5 years. So grateful, but yet not willing to give you anything.
It's my hope that the murderers, killers watching us. It's my hope.
One more time.
Grateful to you. It's my hope that the murderers, killers watching us. It's my hope. It's my hope that the murderers, killers watching us. It's my hope.
It's my hope that... he just says it so weirdly.
I didn't know what to expect when we flew in, but I looked down and I saw this line of cars, and I'm so grateful, so very grateful to you.
I'm gonna play this part slow just to see it.
It's my hope that the murderers, killers watching us. It's my
hope that murderous killer is watching us. He's not saying, it's my hope that the murderer in this case is watching us. It's my hope that murderous killer is watching us. Such a weird sentence.
So grateful, so very grateful to you. It's my hope that the murderers, killers watching us. It's my hope.
It's my hope that murderers and killers are watching us, basically.
Take two more questions.
If he is, whether there has been speculation on social media, whether he's watching now on TV or online, he may think it's a year I got away with it. Your response?
Keep thinking that. Keep thinking that. Yeah.
That was very aggressive. What if he thinks that he's gotten away with it a year later and he's watching all of this? And it's like, keep thinking that. You just keep thinking that, basically. He didn't say you, he said keep thinking that. Keep thinking that. Keep thinking that. Like, okay, but 5 years later, the guy's still thinking it. If that's what you're saying. Yeah, keep thinking that. We're on to you. 2 years later, we're changing our investigative strategy. But we rely on tips for our performance.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
It's been a year and over 30,000 deaths.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that people cannot identify him by that pixelated image. I just don't think it's possible. Is that what you guys are depending on? Is somebody coming in that identifies that image?
That's one piece, of course, and I agree with you completely. But that would be one investigative step for us. The other investigative step might be a hunch, might be a notion that someone has.
The other investigative process might be an hunch. Okay. That doesn't sound investigative.
Of course, and I agree with you completely. But that would be one investigative step for us. The other investigative step might be a hunch, might be a notion that someone has. It would be great if someone came out and said, yeah, that is this person, first and last name. I know it is. But
It has to come from an individual.
likely, very likely, from an individual, yes. Yes.
Excuse me.
Be a hunch, might be a notion that someone has.
Identify him by that pixelated image. I just don't think it's possible. Is that what you guys are depending on? Is somebody coming in that
He's asking about the pixelated image they released. Is that what you're depending on to catch this killer?
identifies that image?
That's one piece, of course, and I agree with you completely. But that would be one investigative step.
That's only one investigative step, Bridge Guy. The picture of Bridge Guy is just one investigative step. But you know what another step is? An hunch.
For us.
He means a hunch. Someone who has a hunch. And I like how he says an hunch.
The other investigative step might be a hunch, might be a notion that someone has. It would be great if someone came out and said, yeah, that is this person, first and last name. I know it is. But
It has to come from an individual.
likely, very likely, from an individual, yes. Yes.
I would love to see what happens, and even if someone has done this, to say, okay, I have an hunch that it's, and then you list a whole bunch of law enforcement. I mean, they will not like that. They're not going to look into generally their own. They're not going to be like, oh yeah, of course, duh, why we never thought of that? Especially in small town communities, law enforcement, they don't go after their own. Don't they have some sort of brotherhood agreement, like some type of, I don't know, I'm from South Africa. My father was a police officer. I saw it. He lived in a lot of small towns. Oh yeah, he did. He liked them small communities and them small towns. And in those small towns, law enforcement, as much as they wear that good guy badge, you know. Oh, they're all in it together. They'll never turn each other in. And anyone who says anything bad about one of them No, you're not going to get very far.
Still no update at this point, though, on the scientific element, as you refer to, not specifically saying DNA, but anything you could be still waiting for the labs, nothing updated?
No, the science piece of this I'm going to keep very, very close to the vest.
Very interesting that you would keep the science piece close to the vest, which means probably forensics, speculatively, DNA forensics. You're going to keep that real close to the vest. You mean someone tampered with the evidence? Or, as you guys know, serial killers often will take along with them cigarette butts, gum, anything. I'm going to say, I mean, it is an adult channel. Used condoms. They're going to take tissues. They're going to take things along to litter the crime scene, to throw people off. Serial killers do this. So a small town like this would be very confused about how much DNA could have been found at this crime scene, because speculatively, someone who's making a statement, maybe even to retaliate against the police, you know, if it's one of many that was let go and they're angry about it, about the brotherhood or whatever it is turning against them, and they want to make a statement and make something unsolvable, they would think like that. They would litter the entire crime scene, right? BTK did it. Ted Bundy did it. The Green River Killer did it. That's what they do.
Very close to the vest.
Thank you very much for coming today. We appreciate your time.
Thank you all very much.
Let's watch them walk. I know you guys want me to slow that down so you can see Lesenby walk. I just know. Because you ask me on email, so I'll do it, okay? I'm going to put the sound off so that you can see. You can think up your own things. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I would like to now find one more clip. Where is this clip? There's a clip that I had that I thought was pretty good, because Tobe Lesenby actually says down the hill. So watch history. Just hold on. This says today. Man, my watch history, it's so busy. I watch so many things, do so much research that I'm like, what? Bear with me, okay? Just hang in there. Share your comments in the meantime. I'll pay attention to them in a moment. It's nice pre-recording these so I can actually be in the chat box with you. Man. I can't find it. Let's just say Delphi quickly. Otherwise, I'll show it in the next one, because I can't find it now. I can show you this one in the meantime. Hold on, let's put this over here. You know me and the 3 screens now. And then I'm going to show you this.
To more or less take over.
Right. First, I called my squad sergeant and told him to get all the detectives available up here, because we knew it was going to be a long, drawn-out process. But I think, like everybody else, shock and awe. I mean, you really don't expect something like this tragic of an event to happen in a small town like Delphi. And I think it took a while to set in, and then it was just total chaos. I mean, the investigation with all the help that we got was just total chaos. And we were able to get that to controlled chaos. And then I joke around about becoming an oiled machine, and now I think it's a well-oiled machine where it's very manageable, and we're making a lot of progress. But yeah, it's pretty traumatic for everybody involved, not just the community, but every investigator that's been up here. But I think we all have a job to do. We all focus. We're very professional, and we're going to find who's responsible for this and make sure that we get justice for Abby and Libby. I mean, Abigail Williams and Liberty German did not deserve this. And I think my passion is getting justice for them and their families and the community.
People often forget that officers and detectives are real people as well. And emotionally, this is difficult for everybody involved.
Absolutely, and I kind of led to that. But and the other thing is, you know, life doesn't stop. We try to put it on hold when you have a major case like this. You try to put life on hold, but it doesn't stop. I mean, we have detectives up here that have had their own deaths in their families, their own sickness. Their kids are sick. They're planning weddings, just everyday stresses, and you can't stop that. You can't put it on hold. You might be able to for a day or two, but with this type of investigation and it being month, 2 months, 3 months, hopefully not any, years, but you can't put that on hold. So you have to deal with those stresses. You have to find a way to do it. And I think for me, what makes it easy is the people I'm working with and working for. And so it's been a little easier to handle that stress when you have the backing and you work with such great people.
I will show you more of that at a later stage. Well, if there's something really like, whoa, in there. But I think it was this interview that I'm talking about.
Okay, I'm here with Tobe Leesenby, Sheriff of Carroll County. And I'm going to ask him just a few short questions.
That's what I'm looking for.
And the first one is, Tobe, everybody wants to know why you called off the search for Libby and Abby.
Sure. First of all, that was not a individual decision made by me, but rather we had a meeting among several emergency responders, which included police, fire, EMS, and also other community volunteers. And the consensus was that to make a temporary stop of that search and then restart the search early the next morning. I do want to stress that even though we formally had stopped that search, there were still people out there searching throughout the night, and we were aware of that, particularly community volunteers. And we were not in a position that we could tell everyone to stop, and basically we made it optional. If they wanted to stop, they could, and get some rest and come back out the next morning, as many did, to start that search over or up again. And so that was not an individual decision, as many may feel, but rather.
This interview was from June 2019. So just after that press conference that we just watched. Well, months after, but in the same... Wait, it wasn't even. This is June 2019. Okay. So the one we just watched was from February 2018.
Rather a decision made by several community members and emergency responders.
And were there also some fire officials and some LE out there that night as well?
Yes, that's correct. There were many, particularly firefighters and law enforcement, that were actually out there looking.
Okay.
Firefighters and law enforcement, so yes, of course.
Okay. And then also, just to be clear for my own understanding, the family did tell you that this did often happen with the girls. They sometimes didn't come home. They might be at friends, and that Libby was wanting to go to her mom, so they may have ran off.
We had spoken to, obviously, the family a number of times as far as other locations the girls could have went to, and we had learned as far as their history, whether it be they went to each other's homes and not communicated that to other family members. That had happened in the past, but there had been times where the girls had been elsewhere and had not told, whether it be parents or grandparents or any other family members where exactly they were.
Okay, and then
I don't remember if this is the exact interview where he says down the hill, but I will find it.
On to the next question. When asked if the community was in any immediate danger, your answer was no. Can you explain that, please?
Sure. I've been with this agency in particular for 32 years, and so I had a lot of feeling and real faith that we were not dealing with an ongoing event as far as someone going out there and committing this crime again.
See, and he says it in multiple interviews where he believes it's an isolated event, but feeling and faith, wow, in a homicide investigation.
One thing I do want to speak to, though, is that more of a concern for me as a law enforcement leader was that we obviously did not want to create a large amount of paranoia and concern where individuals or families would have to constantly, if you will, be looking over their shoulder all the time, wondering, who's that behind me? That's no way for a community to live, in my opinion. And so,
Was about safety. If you say, well, yeah, be careful. Don't let your kids go out to Monon High Bridge or trails by themselves. Just be vigilant, be careful, supervise your children. Isn't that better than saying, nah, you shouldn't worry? Or you can make up your own minds if you're going to worry or not. Because you've got faith and a feeling that this won't happen again.
So, we wanted to convey that message that this was solely related to, or isolated, if you will, to these individuals involved. And so...
and it was solely related to or isolated to these individuals involved. Very interesting. So that implies they were targeted. These specific individuals were targeted, and they know, he says, he has a feeling, remember, in faith, that this is an isolated incident against Abby and Libby, and that he doesn't believe anyone else needs to really worry. Interesting.
There was no factual information to believe that we were dealing with an ongoing situation with someone out there in the community. So I felt assured that, and still feel that way, honestly, that, this is...
Even though the Flora girls, that case happened just before this. Yes. In Indiana. In Flora. And so 4 little girls died there. And was it in 2012, right? When I never know how to pronounce it. Is it Everard case? The other double homicide occurred? And now in 2017, Abby and Libby are murdered? But no, this is isolated. It's very interesting if you consider what he's saying. And he is the guy in charge of this investigation.
Something that the community is safe in what's taking place in Carroll County.
And what's taking place in Carroll County. Okay, but what about Indiana? And why is Doug Carter worrying about Indiana state troopers?
Okay, and then...
also, who chews gum on an interview?
When Anthony Greeno interviewed you, he asked you if...
He doesn't like that. It's like...
Ron Logan was cleared, and you said...
So angry with Anthony Greeno, right?
He is not cleared, but covered. Can you explain what covered means?
Sure. Covered means that at some point an investigator has met with that individual or individuals, as the case may be, and in essence gained alibi information as to their whereabouts and their dealings during this particular time frame, particularly those 2 days involved of February 13th and 14th, 2017. And so we cover that information in determining what was actually happening in that individual's life. Where were they? Were they at work? Were they at church? Were they at school? Were they shopping? Where was that individual? So that's covered. The concern is, we've discussed before amongst ourselves as investigators, if we come out and say we've cleared someone, the concern is that when we go into the courtroom, a very good attorney representing that individual could easily say, so-and-so was cleared by the police, if in fact we ever said that, so-and-so was cleared on such and such date. And if we come out and say somebody is cleared, there's an opportunity there that individual, that seed of doubt will be planted with the jury. And so there's also the opportunity that we may have to circle back around on someone and come back around and whether it be re-interview or look at them again, we want to leave that door open so that if we have to do that, we can. Of course, it's up to each individual and whether or not they want to talk to us again. But
it's up to each individual whether or not they want to talk to us again? You have no powers, no search warrants, you can't talk to them again? Oh, it's up to them. That's concerning.
The main concern in cover versus clear is we don't want to enter into the courtroom where this will ultimately take place and for any seed of doubt to be planted by an attorney representing that defendant.
Okay. So,
which means it's already, in their minds, a massive legal battle that they'll have to ensue. Which brings me back to my speculation of what if it's someone or someone's that may have tampered with evidence. But we're cleared for it already, or charged with it already. I'm not implicating one person. I'm just saying think about it. Based on what we saw at the beginning of the episode, what if there's more people like that? And they've already been charged with tampering with evidence. As an example. How will they, in court, it's going to be like, but you already cleared them. You've already charged them. You've already fired them, or they've resigned. It's an example, speculatively. Then that would be a huge legal battle, right?
So, out of everyone that has been questioned or searched, they are still a person of interest, and they will remain that way until there is a conviction.
And again, correct. Again, I choose to use the word conviction because people are arrested every day, whether or not they're charged by the prosecutor and then taken to court and convicted is a whole set of new circumstances. So when we talk about a conviction, obviously someone has gone through the criminal justice system all the way through. The arrest is just the beginning point, okay? So we
very interesting.
Want to strive for that conviction, which is ultimately the ultimate justice for Abby and Libby.
Okay, and one last thing. There's still a lot of fake news and rumors flying about Charles Eldridge, who is in custody for an entire different case in Union City. Would you like to comment on that?
Sure. I've had other inquiries concerning him, obviously recently, and so the response I offer is that we, as an investigative team, continue to handle that situation very similar to what we've done with the 35,000 to 36,000 tips and leads that have been sent in to us since the onset of this investigation. To say that that individual is priority at this time, that is not the case, but rather
Man, he didn't say down the hill, but there is an interview where he does say it. Damn, I just need to find it. I had it yesterday. And yes, it should technically be on my history. But I can't find it. Man. Isn't it so frustrating? It's because of the amount of research that I do. Honestly, it's like my history is like, what the heck? And one would think I could just recognize it here on a picture, but I just can't right now. And I want to find it, and I know the time is ticking. Just hold on 1 second. Let's just see if I can. I'm just doing one more quick one. It's not that. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. There's also, I actually want to show you this.
You know,
remember,
he worked with hundreds.
Remember I was saying it could be someone that worked at the school, like a sports coach or something. So look at this. I'm not saying it's this guy. I'm giving another example of why I say that.
Not thousands of children for more than a decade.
And now a former assistant football coach is charged with sexually abusing one victim as many as 200 times.
As WMAR2 News' Jeff Hager reports tonight, police are fearful that he may have preyed upon other children as well.
The victim claims the first time he was sexually assaulted came before a Manchester Valley High football game when an assistant coach, Michael Bazowski, molested him inside a vehicle in the parking lot. Over the next 3 years, he claims the same man would assault him as many as 200 times.
Mr. Bazowski is being charged with multiple counts of sexual child abuse stemming from a relationship he engaged in while an assistant football coach at Manchester Valley High School and the North Carroll Titans football program here in Carroll County.
The challenge for police now is determining if there are other victims out there. The suspect has served in many roles where he may have come into contact with other youths in Carroll, Baltimore, and York counties over the years, ranging from football and lacrosse teams to the Hereford Volunteer Fire Company and even a Baltimore County Fellowship of Christian Athletes program.
Investigators learned that Mr. Bazowski used social media and text messaging to obtain inappropriate photographs of our victim. We also learned that he was asked to leave other organizations for inappropriate social media contact with juveniles, where he made similar requests and advancement towards young boys that he made towards our victim.
Officers exercised a warrant on the suspect's home on Black Oak Road in Parkville on Wednesday and arrested him while seizing his cell phone and other electronic devices. Police are asking any other potential victims to step forward, and they're asked to call a dedicated line at the sheriff's office at 443-373.
In Carroll County. See? Not that much of a speculation. It's becoming less and less of a speculation, isn't it? Here's another one. Oh my word, there's so many things I could show you. I might be getting closer to this. Hold on. I actually want to... That gave me a fright. Did it give you a fright? Guys.
feel bad for anybody struggling with addiction, you know, because I've struggled with it too.
Patrick Mefford has known Jamie Kinman his entire life. He says the sheriff has seen him at his lowest.
When I got arrested, you know, he talked to me because, you know, I went to school with him, and he talked to me, he told me, he said, you know, that I was a disgrace to my family. How does that look with my grandpa being sick the way he was, and I'm doing this, choosing drugs over my kids. And, you know, I felt like I was 2 inches tall.
Now Sheriff Kinman is facing his own trouble. He's charged with 2 counts of burglary and 2 counts of stealing hydrocodone. Kentucky State Police say the charges stem from 2 incidents at this Carrollton home last month.
It is unfortunate any time a public official, a sitting sheriff, is accused of crimes like this.
Kinman turned himself in Wednesday. He bonded out not long after.
The effect of the hastened judgment of some local people in our community needs to kind of check their mouth, and I can be quoted on that one.
As part of his bond, the judge has set a lot of restrictions on Kinman, including a very limited role at the sheriff's office. In Carroll County, Christina Mora, WLK.
That was March 24th, 2017. Oh my word. I wish I could find this down the hill one. Oh my goodness. It's so frustrating.
Not necessarily losing hope, but it's difficult after so many months.
It's true. This has obviously, Paris, been something that this county's we've never had this before, and so you know, for me, my biggest thing is my faith in God. I have a strong faith, and so I also have faith in the investigators we have on board. You know, who would have thought that we would have, you know, local all the way up to federal involved with this situation, because this is small town USA, and so for us to have the best of the best, as I've been putting it, on board that's where I tell folks, you know, that's our drive, that's our focus, and we also get feedback from other outside law enforcement agencies that maybe aren't directly connected. But from what they see of what we're doing here, they give us feedback and say, you guys are on the right track. You know, your investigators are doing a fantastic job, and you're on the right track, and you will get this resolved. For the community, you know, the outpouring of support is just, some days I can't put words to it. It's just, I thank the community for every individual that's, you know, either offered food or even words of encouragement. Those simple things sometimes are some of the best attributes we get from our community. And so I think the community, obviously, I feel like has faith in us. You know, there are the naysayers out there, and that happens in every community. But I feel just as confident as we did from day one. And I know this has been a long time. And I've commented the last couple of days to different folks in the community that I'm not real sure, even as sheriff of this county, if we really know how to react or how to respond, because again, we've never had this, and so here we are. So, you know, what's the textbook answer here on responding to this? I'm not sure if there is one.
How hard is it though for some of these investigators or yourself are in the investigation? You lay down and your head just must keep running and running and running.
Yeah, I think it is difficult, but I think that's the plus with having some of these outside agencies come on board with us, that if, you know, my guys or any of the state's guys need to take a break, we have these other outside agencies that come on board and say, hey, we'll be glad to fill the gap. And so that has helped that process, so that, I know like, several county and city agencies surrounding Carroll County have sent investigators to us to come on board, and some of them have been on board since day one. Obviously, some have had to go back and attend to their business in their respective jurisdictions
it didn't come back to us. And so, so even though we may, you know, provide a day or two or whatever the case may be for one of our guys to take a break, you know, there's an opportunity for us to bring a fresh individual into the picture, and that being from an outside agency.
To see the commitment of your deputies, of everybody who's involved in this, whether it's just for a short period of time or it's been the entire time, what's that like to see just the constant commitment?
The initial word that popped into my mind was pride. I have a lot of pride for not only our folks, but every individual that's committed to this investigation. And again, I resort back to what I said earlier, the drive and the focus. You know, we're in the business of seeking justice in all situations that come our way. And so this is obviously different than any other case, like I said earlier, but the pride factor, I think it's as if everyone has a hand in this, and so they want to see it carried through to fruition.
It's as if everyone has a hand in this and they want to see it carried through to fruition. What? Okay, and this last update for now, and then I'm going to leave it for now because it's an hour 44 already of this video. My goodness, overtime every time. There's so much to show you.
An update now. That fake social media profile shared by detectives investigating the murder of 2 young girls in Delphi. Well, now for the very first time, we're hearing from the man whose pictures were stolen and used by that Anthony Schatz profile. Our Jenny Runovich talked with the former model and now current police officer in Alaska, who frankly was pretty shocked to see his face connected to this investigation in Indiana.
Vincent Kowalski, a police officer in Alaska, found himself in the middle of a murder investigation here in Indiana this month. His photos when he was a model after high school, stolen and used, police say, by a man accused of catfishing young girls. The fake Anthony Schatz account also caught the attention of detectives investigating the Delphi murders. Kowalski says he found out about the investigation when an Instagram follower sent him a link to a press release with his face front and center.
Just seeing your face blasted all over the news was crazy.
Kowalski, who still values fitness to work as a police officer, no longer models on Instagram. He's now a father of 2 girls. So the association with a child exploitation case and a murder investigation of 2 teens is especially troubling.
I got a young daughter, about 1 year and 4 months old, and my other daughter is 10, so she's coming up on the social media age. Soliciting videos from young girls, like, that's disgusting, and it makes me sick. But to know that 2 young girls possibly lost their life because of my picture, it's the worst of the worst. How you just keeps you up at night as a parent, knowing that people are out there like that.
Now, this is the first time that Kowalski's modeling photos have been stolen and used by a bogus account. In fact, it's happened for years. Our coverage continues tonight at 6 o'clock.
I don't know why this lady has like a twinkle in her eye and such a smile while reporting this, because damn, that's terrible. It's interesting that he became a police officer too. But yeah, I mean, maybe he's inspired by all this, like, oh my word. But dude, could you maybe go help out in Delphi? If you're so disgusted by it, could you go there and help out, huh? My goodness, but yeah, Keegan Klein using those images, terrible. So that's it for now. I will carry on. Man, I want to find that clip where literally Tobe Lesenby says, down the hill. He says the words, down the hill, and you guys have asked me, can't you do that? Can't we compare his voice just based on your own speculations? So I just want to find it just so that you could see that somebody in law enforcement said the words down the hill. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. My goodness, if you're here till the end, wow, thank you so much. I know this was a long one. I really appreciate it. Thank you for all your support. Just for everything that you do. I really appreciate it. My goodness. I will see you in the next one. On your way out, please do hit the thumbs up so that you can boost this episode into the algorithm so that, you know, YouTube knows you like it. My audience likes it. Okay, great. Now, who else can we show it to? You know? Let's get more fresh eyes on this. And I will see you in the next one.